So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Beth. I'm the Director of External Affairs at the Association of Commonwealth Universities. Really pleased to be welcoming you all here today for what is a session that is going to be about something very practical, very urgent and deeply relevant to the future of higher education. Entrepreneurship, innovation, job creation, and importantly, the role that universities play within that. At the Association of Commonwealth Universities, we work with over 400 member institutions across more than 40 countries, bringing together universities from very different contexts, but that are facing increasingly similar challenges. Across the Commonwealth, we are seeing rapidly growing youth populations, particularly in Africa and South Asia, increasing pressure on labour markets where formal employment is not keeping pace with demand, and a clear need to create jobs, not just jobs, but new forms of work, new markets, and new opportunities. In many of these contexts, entrepreneurship is not optional, it is essential. It is central to livelihoods, economic resilience, and inclusive growth. And universities sit right at the centre of that challenge. Universities are not only educating future graduates, but they're shaping skills, mindsets, and capabilities. They're generating ideas, research, and innovation, but they're also increasingly acting as anchors within a wider entrepreneurial ecosystem. At the ACU, this is a core part of our work. We support universities to strengthen employability and skills pathways, to build innovation and entrepreneurship capability, and to connect more effectively with industries, policies, and community. We also work closely with governments and partners across the Commonwealth to ensure that universities are recognised not only as education providers, but as key delivery partners in economic development and job creation. But to do that well, we need to better understand what actually works in practice. And that's why today's conversation is so important. At the ACU, as I said, we spend a lot of time working with governments, vice-chancellors and policymakers, but today is slightly different. Today is about hearing directly from founders, from those who are building ventures, navigating systems, facing barriers, and creating solutions in real time. This is about ensuring that universities are not just part of the conversation, but are recognised as essential partners in the delivery. We have today in the room 23 Commonwealth Startup Fellows representing different countries, different sectors, and different stages of the entrepreneurial journey. And that is a hugely valuable resource. These fellows represent diverse Commonwealth contexts and sectors, and the insights from today's discussion will feed directly into the policy advocacy that we as the ACU take forward on behalf of our members. And that is directly with Commonwealth governments, with ministers, and particularly at forums such as the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, where we have the opportunity to directly engage with policymakers and businesses, importantly, on issues such as this. We will also be working on entrepreneurship education guidance and a new community of practice, which we'll come on to later. So the central question we'll be exploring here today: what role can and should universities play in enabling entrepreneurial journeys? Not in theory, but in practice. What actually helps founders? What gets in their way? And what needs to change? So today is really about listening. It's about listening to what's working, what's missing, and what could be done differently. And we are absolutely delighted to have such a strong group of fellows here with us to share those insights. Before we move into the panel, I'm really pleased to hand over to Ms. Ingeborg Albert, CSF Programme Manager at Imperial Enterprise Lab, who will frame the discussion for us on entrepreneurship, innovation and job creation across the Commonwealth, drawing on the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship model. Ingeborg, please.
Thank you, Beth. And welcome, dear founders. So there's no single model for entrepreneurship support that works well across all contexts. Entrepreneurship support is designed very differently, depending on geography, sector, the stage of the venture, and the type of venture. For example, whether it's a market-driven or technology-driven startup. The journey from idea to impact requires several elements coming together. Founders need skills. They need access to networks. They need access to funding. And ultimately, they need access to customers. Skills acquisition evolves as the venture grows. Besides developing their product or service, early-stage founders need to acquire skills such as value proposition design, business model generation, presentation and storytelling. But over time, founders need to acquire customer development, leadership and people management skills, financial management capability, sales, investment readiness, fundraising, as well as skills in operations and execution. Alongside skills, entrepreneurs require networks. Networks enable practical opportunities. They provide feedback on a product and value proposition. They enable access to customers. They facilitate introduction to investors. They support partnerships and connect founders to strategic advisors and mentors. The context for this program, the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship, is to help tackle job shortages in Commonwealth countries by supporting promising startups to scale. And one insight from running this program is that when you have the unique opportunity to back founders with the combined support of the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and Imperial College, it is essential to select the right caliber and the right stage of the founders. So the value of this setup can only be maximized when the founders are ready to absorb and act on the access, networks, and credibility that this partnership provides. We therefore deliberately selected startups that are transitioning from startup to scale-up. These are typically at seed to Series A stage. They have a proven product market fit in their home country. They show existing traction, and they have a clear ambition to expand internationally. We have seen, for example, our fellows, Asian fintech, health tech, and agri-tech startups looking to expand into African markets. The challenge for many founders in these countries is limited access to networks, let's say global networks, resources to develop relevant skills, and visibility and credibility. These barriers often stand in the way of entering new markets and raising funding. The support provided through the program focuses on skills and networks. On the skills side, this includes leadership development to support team growth, business model refinement for international scalability, and market entry and go-to-market strategy. On the network side, the value comes from the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and Imperial College partnership. The Commission contributes with strong academic, policy, and public sector networks. Imperial College brings industry-connected, innovation-driven entrepreneurial networks. The combined alumni base includes business leaders, academics, and policymakers, and together, this creates an ecosystem that gives founders access to customers and warm introductions to investors and partners, as well as continued relationships through the alumni networks of both Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and Imperial College. Access to funding happens both directly and indirectly. In the fellowship, this takes place through the Fellows Fund and indirectly through preparing founders to become investment ready so that they can raise capital externally. Through the global standing and reputation of the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and Imperial College London, founders also benefit from increased visibility, credibility, and endorsement. And these factors play a significant role when founders seek to enter new markets or engage with investors. And Imperial College is a strong partner for several reasons. The Enterprise Lab has a proven record of supporting entrepreneurs. They are experienced educators who understand founder needs, the venture life cycle, and differences across sectors and geographies. Imperial has experience supporting ventures from early stage to scale-ups, delivering high-quality entrepreneurship programs, and enabling access to a global alumni network through their international hubs in India, Ghana, San Francisco, and Singapore. Besides this, there's obviously access to world-class research, laboratories, and technical expertise, as well as the suitable physical spaces and convening power. As a result, and to conclude, the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship directly addresses the initial challenge these founders face: fragmented access to skills, networks, funding, visibility, and customers. By intentionally combining stage-appropriate skills development, access to powerful and complementary networks, targeted funding mechanisms, and the credibility provided by the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and Imperial College London, the program brings these elements together in one structured intervention. And this integrated approach enables founders not only to strengthen their ventures, but to overcome key barriers to market entry, scale internationally, and move towards job creation and sustained growth. With that, I leave the floor to our fellows. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ingeborg. I'm now going to invite each of our 4 fellows up, and in turn, I'll briefly introduce them, but we're going to then move swiftly into a panel. So we will have the opportunity to hear firstly for about 5 minutes from each of the speakers on their journey into becoming a founder, some of the challenges that they faced, and what role, if any, universities played, and particularly how they see the CSF programme supporting them. And then we'll move into a Q&A. As I said, we've got a couple of selected questions, but we're really keen to hear from yourselves, and also any thoughts and reflections from those of you also on the programme within the room. So I'll start, Ms. Marisa Helen from Helton Traders Limited in Uganda. They turn plastic waste into affordable sewing threads to power Africa's textile industry. You come and take a seat on stage. And next we have Ms. Iman Aziz, Sawi Ecosystems Pakistan. Sawi Eco offers data-driven farm advisory, traceability and marketplace solutions to farmers. Mr. Sharif Ahmed, Lead Academy Bangladesh, is an edtech startup that offers AI-powered job simulation that builds careers. And finally, Mr. Mariti Omondi, Moritech Botswana, uses AI-powered peer lending to unlock fast, fair credit access for Africa's unbanked. So we don't have a microphone for the panel speakers, so we will have to just talk up loudly. If at any point you say you can't hear and it's proving difficult, we can return to the lectern, but just so that we can keep this bit a bit more informal. And so let's start then, Marisa, Helen, with you.
Thank you.
Yes, if it works, yeah. That should pick up on there, yeah. Okay, perfect, there you go. And tell us a little bit about your journey as a founder, what your company does, and some of the challenges that you faced in setting it up.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to say really thank you to the Commonwealth Scholarship and Imperial for this incredible opportunity for me to be here. It gives me the energy and the opportunity to go back home and make a difference. So I'm incredibly happy. So my name is Munyasa Helen. I'm the founder of Helton Traders Limited from Uganda in East Africa. So how I got to start Helton Traders. So previously, before transitioning into manufacturing, I was a wholesale textile trader. So we were importing, sorry. It's super cold in London. It made me flowish.
So, hate people as well as the trees.
Yeah.
The trees will get you.
Yeah. I'll get used. So before transitioning into manufacturing, I was a wholesale textile trader. So what we did before Helton Traders, we were importing sewing threads, all textile materials like buttons, everything to do with textiles. So, but then our turning point was in 2021, when me and my co-founder researched on how we could make sewing threads locally, because 70% of our revenue was coming from only the sales of the sewing threads, which was really huge for us as a business. So, but also in Uganda, Uganda generates over 600 tons of plastic waste in a single day. And the 60% of that is never collected or even recycled properly. So we saw a huge opportunity from the problem. So we decided to research about how we could make it. And then that's when everything started. So we are turning plastic bottle waste into sustainable polyester sewing threads, but also there is a problem with the wholesale textile traders. They were taking long to get their threads. So it takes between 40 to 60 days, which is really huge for a business. You always need that constant supply for your business to carry on. And also the plastic waste is huge. So on making them, we are giving an affordable alternative to the wholesale textile traders while cleaning the environment and also creating job opportunities and support to mostly the waste collectors who are doing an incredible job in the ecosystem. So yes, that's how everything started.
Thank you. Let's pass to Eamon. Yeah, please just introduce a bit about the journey and some of the challenges that you faced in
Thank you
setting it
very
up.
much. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eamon Aziz, and I'm representing Pakistan, and I'm the co-founder of Savi Ecosystems. As part of this Commonwealth Startup Fellowship, it's a wonderful opportunity to be here, and we are an agri-tech company, and at the heart of it, what we are actually doing is simple. We are connecting farmers to the global supply chains. But the problem that we are actually solving is not simple at all. Every food that we eat and every piece of clothing that we wear, it actually tells a story. But only few of us realize that it all begins on a farm. Globally, there are 570 million farms, and most of them are smallholder farms. In the heart of our food and fiber systems, like in Pakistan alone, 10 million smallholder farmers who produce 80% of the nation's food, but they remain disconnected to the formal markets, lack of proper advisory support, fintech access. And that's where they're suffering because of the climate change stress, falling yields, low productivity, and their livelihoods are affected. But this is one side of the story. Global textile and apparel industry, which is valued at $1.7 trillion. It's a huge number, but this industry is responsible for producing more than 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions, which means the biggest climate giant at the moment. But now things are actually changing. Because of the ESG mandates and EU regulations, brands have now to prove the origin, compliance, and environmental footprint of the garment products they are producing. So there is a growing disconnect. And what's happening that is consumers are now shifting towards alternatives, towards man-made fibers. But the hidden cost behind this, they're not aware. They think that man-made fibers are cheaper. One of the biggest issue is microplastic pollution from these fibers. And natural fibers like cotton, they are hidden in this ecosystem because there are not proper transparent systems available in the market. So that's where Savi, sustainable agriculture, water, and intelligent ecosystems come in. We call it a COVID baby. And since then, we're working on the vision to bridge this gap for the farmers and the supply chains, working directly with the farmers on ground, providing them with advisory support, helping them to grow their crops with more productivity, with yield increase, and actually direct access to the markets so that their livelihoods can be increased. And I think being part of this fellowship, what's valuable is it's not just funding and investment. The best part is the networking and the shared learning. And in the past 6 months, not just me, not just my startup, but the wonderful other 22 fellows, in this last 6 months, we have got a huge networking opportunities with each other, with wonderful other people who are working in different domains. So I'm very thankful to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and the Association of Commonwealth Universities, specifically Imperial College London, Imperial Enterprise Lab, and FCBO for this wonderful opportunity to help us grow, to scale, and to network around. Thank you very much.
Please. Okay, Sharif, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sharif. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm the co-founder of Lead Academy. So first of all, thank you so much to ACU and CSF for giving me the chance to speak as one of the panelists. So I'm the founder of EdTech startup, Lead Academy. What we do is we build career-connected experiences for learners, which is university students, young professionals, and employers from small to large enterprises. So for the learners, we provide upskilling courses and AI-powered job simulations where they simulate real-world job experiences and they get scored by our AI and get them in a pool of job-ready talent. And from the other side, the employers, they come into our platform and they, instead of going through hundreds of CVs, they can go through our vetted pool of 1% talent, which are job ready, and that saves them hundreds of hours and directly take interview from our platform. So, and we are different from other edtechs like Coursera, where they're actually focusing on MOOCs, recorded courses. But at Lead Academy, we are providing a simulative environment of the real job so that learners know what they can expect when they're actually doing the job. And it helps also employers to understand that this candidate has scored this, which are relevant to my role that I'm hiring for, and so on and so forth. So around 67 out of 67 million graduates, there are 1 in 6 graduates who are underemployed or unemployed. This number is huge. And around 40% still out of the 1 in 6 who get hired, 40% of them are bad hires. Companies like Meta are losing 3 to 4 billion every year because of bad hires. And that is where Lead Academy and our solutions are coming in and giving employers the chance to hire faster and better, and allowing the learners to get real world experiences. And my journey so far, we started back in 2021, and our CSF journey started back in November last year. And a program like CSF, an incubation or etc. program like this, has opened doors for, number one, mentorship from not only coaches that have expertise in different areas, but taking mentorship from other startup fellows and other entrepreneurs who have actually scaled to million-dollar companies. And it wasn't possible for me to get access to those global founders, but CSF, a program like this, made it happen. So I'm really grateful for that. Apart from that, in addition to this, is the networking, the fellows, the big alumni that we are going to be involved with. And already I am in talks with some of our fellows to expand to their countries, Lead Academy. So this has only happened because of a program like this, right? And I studied at one of the top universities in my country, but unfortunately, they didn't play any part in the journey that I'm in right now. And I can say that this is not the issue of university in my country, it's a global problem, right? In all the universities, that's why, right? So look, degrees do not build economies, right? Skilled people do. And this is what universities should identify right now, because in the age of AI, in the next 5 to 10 years, around 70 to 80% of the jobs will be either gone or new jobs will be created, right? And on the policy level, universities should take this into consideration and redesign the whole system, the whole process, the whole curriculum. And entrepreneurship, according to me, should be embedded inside the curriculum from the start, from the first year. And I can go into details later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Yes, we'll come back to that. Okay, Marita after.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Marita Omondi. I am from Adima. Adima is a peer-to-peer lending company. Just to give a bit of a background of how I got to found the business, I'm a child of 2 entrepreneurs. Mother and father were both informal entrepreneurs in a formal way. And while I was studying my master's here in the UK, I got a chance to work a bit as a fintech consultant. And in that program, I got exposure to peer-to-peer lending as one of the fintechs that were there. And I thought to myself, this looks very familiar. It is the culture of what we call Ubuntu in Southern Africa, where people pull together funds and they lend out funds to each other to help develop the community. I was like, this looks familiar. But they digitized the process and they gave it a nice fancy name, peer-to-peer lending. So I went back home, opened the business, and you asked about the challenges that we tend to face as entrepreneurs. It being an unsupervised, unregulated business, those are one of the challenges that we faced. It was unregulated, and the best that we could get from the regulator was just go ahead and operate. We'll catch up with you in the future. So, and another challenge that we do face is access to finance. to sort of scale up our business, you'd get a bank telling you, we can't lend a lender money. So to say, and you explain, we're not technically a lender, and then you get into that, but they end up not explaining it. So I think with the programs such as the CSF and with the help of institutions like Imperial University, we have gotten a chance to learn how to articulate, how to engage with these supervising entities, how to maneuver a little. And I'm proud to say that we're even in discussions of getting into to being sandboxed by our local regulators because of just improving how we communicate, how we present our business, how we engage with them. So yeah, I'll get a bit more into what universities can do when it comes to the policy aspect. So I'll let it go for now. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Got a microphone.
Let's see.
Fantastic introduction to each of your companies and your journeys to date. Let's start on that question of universities, because that's why we're here as the ACU, and I think what many of our members who are here and dialing in would be interested to know. So some of you mentioned, Sharif, universities haven't featured at all in your journey. Have any of you worked with your university or a university in an ecosystem? And if not, if you could redesign how universities did support entrepreneurs, either in your own journey, if you were in higher education, or if you were looking to access that, or as you say, if universities need to step up to meet this challenge in a different way, what would you change first? Mr. Sharif, do you want to start with this?
Yeah, so as I was saying, so the first thing that I was talking about is that I would introduce entrepreneurship from the first year, and I will embed this into my whole curriculum, and I will introduce programs like simple programs like idea competitions, right, from the first year. And then I will go in and start incubation programs for startups. I will build a pool of angel investors for the startups of my university so that I can give them the first lift, because they're students, by the way, right? At the end of the day, they're students. They will not have the funds. They might have a very good idea, but they will not generally have the fund. So an angel investor comes in with his business experience and gives a small token amount that will be able to, at least give the first punch to that startup. So starting from the first year, embedding in the entire curriculum, and a lot of incubation programs, idea programs, and so on and so forth. And the investor pool is very, very important. And from time to time, I would invite successful entrepreneurs, first from my community where the university is, so that the local context is there, because they have done it in the local context. And then I will invite global entrepreneurs as well. So my students can learn and then, from those learning can upskill their journey in the entrepreneurship. Yeah. So these are the things that I will do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So I have a bit of a different perspective, slightly tweaked.
Right.
I think we also have to acknowledge to an extent that there's a huge challenge for universities in finding investors, so to say, at least back home where I'm from. The challenge is that universities tend to be perceived as bringing unseasoned entrepreneurs. So VCs and large investors tend to sort of attend events, but they're like, are these guys, ready for the market really, or is it just concepts and theories, so to say? So I, on the other hand, would say the universities should weigh a bit more on engaging the second part you mentioned with already existing running entrepreneurial, ventures, and get those assimilated into the training. It's wonderful, yes, but we need, or the way Imperial is doing with us, get already moving or businesses with traction and get them into the system and engage VCs and investors in that sense. I think the challenge that they face maybe is not knowing, the universities themselves, not knowing where to touch. Is it to train? Is it to get funding for us? Is it this? Is it that? So I think also research would be a big benefactor to them if they engaged with us in my country and got to learn what are our challenges. It boggles my mind the fact that they don't engage us to learn, for example, my challenge is policy. They could easily just learn from us that these are the policy barriers, engage with the regulators, bring international research and the benefits, and engage with them on our behalf, for example. So yeah, I think I would go on the up end of the stream.
Maybe to add it, what my colleagues mentioned, I think it goes way, maybe in kindergarten or primary, this is something that Japan has done really well. They give you a sense of direction from day one, something that we are missing in Africa. So you get done with university and you just want to go look for a job. So we've not been pushed or empowered to, to think about just always creating opportunities or innovations. So I feel in universities, maybe that product he was trying to look at should start maybe in secondary, when you step into your secondary level. It's like you have to have a sense of, I need to start thinking of what am I going to do for the community, and also thinking of something that is not just benefiting you, but also the whole community, because that's why we're working. And also I feel if there could be universities, if there could be like maybe real exchange programs, but then entrepreneurial programs. And at my university, by the time I graduated, I really didn't get any, apart from, okay, foundation, and then they trained me, they gave me that first education skills. But then after that, that was it. And also, you don't even get to know the opportunities there. You don't. So maybe if there are like staff faculty, that would be great. And also exchange programs, very, 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 and should be made opportunity for just everyone, not just, picked out here. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll add on that. I believe that universities do play a huge role in building this circle of entrepreneurship and all, like it did for us. In our journey, right now, we have 22 plus institutional collaborations locally and internationally. So it has actually helped us to scale. But one thing that for Pakistan, I believe that there is a need to change from a theory-led perspective or a learning-based approach to more towards a practical approach where students can actually learn, maybe through industry linkages and all, through collaborative learning. So that is, I think, that's what I think needs to be changed.
Mike. Thank you. Thank you. That's incredibly interesting. And I'll come on in a moment to this question of skills, because I think that came up in the curriculum. But just to pick up on, Helen, your comment about the importance of exchange programs, at the ACU, we're looking increasingly at how we can embed entrepreneurship as a kind of wraparound to existing exchange programs. So we have a King's Commonwealth Fellowship program where we're supporting PhD researchers in climate resilience. And one of the things we're looking at is how do we support them to create jobs in their small and developing states and create companies and spin outs on some of this research and commercialize. So I think it's a fantastic idea that both universities and organizations such as us are always looking at where's the entrepreneurial angle to this, not just in traditional kind of exchange programs. So on that question of future skills, so what kind of skills are you finding hardest to access, either in your teams as in your companies or in the kind of wider workforce? And I think some of you mentioned, university curriculums need to embed entrepreneurship, but we also talked that the nature of the changing world of work, and particularly AI and the disruptions that are coming to this, how do we as universities keep pace with that? What kind of skills do you think we should be teaching students for the future? Who wants to start? Sharif, come.
All right. No? All right. So AI is something that we cannot ignore anymore. And both organizations and universities need to recognize this. But advancing them, our students in using AI tools and how they work and so on and so forth, that is fine. But I think still as the AI advances, there will be skills that humans really need to enhance, right? And MIT research recently showed that around people who are using ChatGPT, 95% of them, their critical thinking ability is going down, right? So our universities need to check in how do I make the curriculum and the programs that build the critical thinking, the problem-solving ability, and how to apply the knowledge in real life. And those are the human abilities and human skills that I believe in the age of AI will be extremely, extremely important. So from the university perspective, we need to keep these in mind and then backtrack that these are the targets. My students will be very good in applying knowledge to real world applications and so on and so forth. They'll be very good critical thinkers and problem solvers. Now I backtrack and figure out how do I do things so that my student achieve this. Yeah. Same order.
You don't all have to answer all questions.
Yeah.
Something small to add on, just like my friend over here mentioned, we need like more hands-on. So you might go like to be an engineer at the university, but then you don't even know how to operate machines or something. So I feel there is that gap. It's more like theoretical. So if there should be somehow on that, some course on that, enforcing real hands-on.
Okay, let's come now to thinking about the systems that you work within. So what has been the biggest barrier to scaling your venture beyond the early stage? And is that barrier institutional, market-based, or policy-driven?
Okay. I'll go first. So first of all, access to affordable funding or access to funding. I have gone through some like problems looking for funding as a woman entrepreneur. There is a bank in my country and I missed out on getting funding because I owned a majority of my company because they thought I would not be able to manage that whole amount of money. And I thought that was really unfair because yes. So and also recently I think it's something I even had mentioned it to Ms. Engelbel. I was going to also that would go under policies. There are some policies that should be in place that should support entrepreneurs. Like, for example, you're going, like, for example, I was going to Paris to pitch for an opportunity to get 10,000 US dollars. So my visa got denied and I was supposed to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I go to this office and the lady who has all the powers to help me called the embassy because it was a matter of just making one phone call in my support. And the first comment she made, now look at you. You're a girl, look at your age. Or probably there is, a reason as to why they said no. So, I mean, because of your age and you're a girl, probably you won't come back home. And I was dying for this opportunity and all I needed was their support for me to go and get this opportunity. So I feel there should be support for entrepreneurs. I'm not asking for money from you. I've gotten an opportunity like through a different platform, but all I need is your support, on-ground support, and it's not there. And also linkages to easy access to markets. Like there's still so many blockages on, like, for example, even now at borders. So I feel if that can be strengthened, like, for example, or even through the AFCFTA, It should give us access to easy access to the African markets, but it's still, ahead of even getting the certifications. It takes like a long period of time. You have this deal, and then you have to go through a lot of this and that. I feel all the policies regarding markets and trading, I feel they should be simplified in a way. And also the policies they put on like incentives, like me getting I was trying to get some machineries in my country for recycling and winding and fiber, but then the taxes you pay are so ridiculous. I feel there should be some incentives, because I mean, you're not only empowering the economy, but also cleaning the environment. So I feel there is so much to look into, and there is so much that we go through that should be looked into. And I feel sometimes we're so hard because you got to go to the government itself, but then we need that empowerment, that push or that support. How can we be empowered to go put our voices out there for everything to be, the systems to be simplified for us? Yes.
Fantastic answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I think at the root of it, especially in developing countries, it's tradition. I think tradition or norm is our Achilles heel, so to say. So two things that she mentioned that I'll echo is being a female, yes. And then also age has a big factor. Where you come and they say that big, bold, audacious dream that you are theoretical, so to say, and you are too young to execute this. That is the problem at the root. And then I think that trickles down to how they perceive you when you want policy change. And they still go back to the root, age, gender. It still comes back to that. You go to the bank, like you're saying, which I've gone through, and they tell you you are not regulated, so why should we lend you money? You are young, you are a woman. It goes back to the same root. With that said, I think today, befittingly, I can say this, we need our, being perceived as the young entrepreneurs, we need our parents to come in, being universities, and simply just come in as the middleman and say, open up the doors for these institutions. Research has shown that there's that tax rebates that are given in Europe for a recycling business like hers, or for an education program like her, or a farming program, that the change of policies in your countries, change the policy in the country. We have entrepreneurs like this. We have 7 of them. Please make it easier for them. Can they register things quicker? Can they get that? Can they get discounts when they import products or export them? So I think at the root of it, it's tradition, and we need our parents, the universities to come in there. Yeah.
So I'll add on that. I believe the biggest challenge that we have faced so far while scaling our business is data fragmentation or fragmentation across value chains. One side we are working on the agriculture side, and the other is the textile value chain, which has got a lot of T's involved. We have farmers, and then we have ginners, spinners, and all. So bringing out everyone to a single common point that we have to work for transparency, traceability, and sustainability. And most importantly, that we have to build a system that is beneficial for the farmers actually. It's quite complex because no one is actually willing to pay from their pocket for the financial incentives of farmers. So I think that there is need to make a multidisciplinary system where both ends, like the farmers and then the textile value chains, if they're getting benefited, so they're coming to a common point to work together and to make the system or the planet sustainable, eco-friendly. Yeah.
Can I mention something?
Yep.
Is there a way whereby there can be like an exchange rate for trading? Because sometimes you want to do trading, but then you make calculations, but then maybe if it's a lot of money, and you have to pay a lot of money if you convert to Ugandan currency. Yes. So.
This is slightly beyond the mandate of the ACU, but it leads me nicely to my next question. Some of the barriers that you've identified are policy related, so there could be potentially within the gifts of government or within multilateral frameworks such as the Commonwealth that we work within, where, for example, trade ministers will meet to determine Commonwealth trade policy or similar organisations. So if the ACU were to take one or two of these messages directly to ministers in these forums in which we have a role and a mandate to advocate, what should we be telling them? Exchange rate fixing? The others?
One thing is that we need to change our mindset that success is not driven by degrees, but rather outcomes. So, because in many universities, the majority of the universities, we always focused on the degrees, the academics, and so on. This is the vital reason that students, when they go out, they're completely, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it, but they have a degree, they have a bachelor's degree, they have a master's degree, or a PhD, and so on and so forth, right? But I'm not demeaning the degree thing, right? So that is there, but we're focusing a lot more on that rather than the outcome. So one thing that I would suggest is to, if the ministry has a change of mindset, then that will come down to all the universities. And if that can be changed, then all the things that we're talking about, getting them ready, for the AI revolution that is coming and so on and so on, everything is related to that mindset. If I'm still thinking that my degree is much more important than learning applied knowledge, then nothing will work. So applied knowledge and success has to be completely correlated to outcomes rather than degrees. So that's one thing. Yeah.
I think what I would say is first, they need to have their ear on the ground, keep doing research, know what's happening in the markets or economies, and how would they do this? Have innovation hubs, have incubators, have accelerators. And if those are a bit too expensive to run or complicated, create working groups where you would have banks, private players, you would have businesses that are running in that industry, entrepreneurs, associations, universities, have working groups with mixed experiences and exposures to guide ministries and to inform ministries instead of assuming. Yeah.
Any final reflections on this question before I move on?
Yes. So in our case, I think what's more important is that ministries or in policies, we need to address the farmers, the gap for the farmers. So actually, there is need to enable market access for farmers, not just subsidies. And in the second case, there is need to invest in traceable, transparent systems so that the commodities that we are producing that is coming actually from the farmers, they become transparent and that actually become profitable for the farmers and the communities that are actually responsible for the food that we eat and what actually there. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So I have one more question and then I'm going to turn to the audience both here in the room and online for any questions that you have. So you're all operating in different Commonwealth countries. Do you see shared challenges across these contexts? And where do you see opportunities for collaboration across borders? I ask because the ACU are looking at developing a community of practice. So we run a number of these pieces of practice to bring together practitioners in our universities to share knowledge and exchange best practice. If we were to do to bring a forum like that, such as that for yourselves, what would you find useful from that convening across borders? And so two parts to that question.
Right. So I think playbooks, which are how to, different how to scale, how to go to other geographies, and how to do this rather than just communicating. So those playbooks will be really, really helpful. So that's one. And the other is that then again going back to the thing that I started with, that we have to have like the shared challenge that I feel that all the other startups, the founders can also agree with me, is hiring the right talent. Every startup founders struggle with this. Every entrepreneur struggle with this, right? So this is something that needs to be taken care of. Yeah. So this is one shared challenge that I think is there.
Maybe to add on top of what he said, I feel, given what I see at my university, what would be great is that anywhere there could be like a equipment hub. Like immediately when you're done with university, access to funding is so hard, super hard. But if you have like this great opportunity, I mean, innovation, you can just start working from your university as you figure stuff out. And I feel this is something, that this is like something that can be done even different countries, in different universities. And it's something that we are missing out on. Yes.
Okay, with that then, we will turn to questions in the room. So Farah, do you want to take one mic and we'll use one mic here?
Shall I do it in the room and then?
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to do this questions or suggestions.
Both.
Okay, right. So I have one point. For suggestions, for the question around the campus connecting with startups, I think for most of us in Africa, right, that are really through schools, one thing most people did was an on-study pattern whereby we don't just stayed in the campus, we also went out into the industry. And these repeated iterations made it completely understood what the industry needed before we left the campus. So when we were done with school, we sort of understood what we had to do next. And probably just large funding to do it. But we know what we want to get passionate about. And not because we did the exit and entry of schools and academic essentially. So seeing the basis of the ECU and how you stand across different universities, it might be a supportive move to create an environment that can expose students into existing or reliable companies or industries whilst they study. It's more like fun because you do what you're studying in the industry, and it's built up experience. And most of the startup founders that have succeeded this thing unconsciously. So if companies that are well doing can maybe submit their names to you and the students that want to almost like a Tinder for schools and entrepreneurs still in campus, something like that. So that might be an environment to encourage this pattern of movement. It worked for me. And so lastly is the question now is what was everybody on the panel? What are we planning to do to sort of change this space? The reason for that question is it was similarly posed to me a while back, interestingly, 2009, and then because they were like, oh, this we do data in Africa. People are doing research to fix our current problems, but they don't have data. Can you give them data? And I'm like, this is not a business question anyway, so it's more like support question. I'm like, we can't support if we don't have it. Like it's not that's level of support because that's many schools that are simple. And then we can't just give them data because they won't be able to pay for it like a business model and like. So like if you talk to like the Commonwealth Foundation and everything, maybe they can come up with a program like that. But that thing was supposed to be actually. So I think I'll put it everyone is able to what are you doing to sort of change this program that will stay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good.
Take that one.
I think being the little entrepreneurs we are, we can make a bit of a wave by, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of engagement with I'll speak to policy, by a bit of engagement with the regulators, teaching them about our businesses, engaging with them. If there are open events, open nights, to have discussions with them, befriend them, help them evolve. And I think also it's important for us also to enter our local regulatory sandboxes. Could be even university sandboxes if they exist. Those not only give us a platform to network, but they also educate those that are supervising our industries on where we are, our pace, and what challenges and evolutions we have coming up. That's what I think.
You've one there and then.
Thank you. Maybe I just can add something, not a question. So, I am Gopal from Bangladesh, leading in energy tech or clean tech in Bangladesh. So, for me, as I have seen so far, that in the universities we are solving math problem, so many other things, but we are not solving the real life challenges. So we are all focused on the education system. That's the pretty almost anything that's going the same way for the last 20 or 100 years. But now the challenges are different. We're living in a more different society than it was few or a decade back. So we should more focus on how we can solve the real life challenges. We are entrepreneur because we are solving some real life challenges. So if the universities are somehow give the mentality shift to the students that solve the challenges around you. So there will be entrepreneurs, there's no doubt. It's an automatic process. We don't have to say that you have to earn money or something. If we can just solve a problem from our educational system, then automatically we will get jobs. There is no doubt. Second thing is that maybe it can also relate it to university and also the mindset of the investors, the how we make money. It's not about the how fast we make money, but what is the impact of this whole journey. I am from the clean tech. I know that there are lots of other ways working with fossil fuel and other things that makes money faster. But we all know there are many negative things around this. But there should be a mindset also in the education system in the society that it is more important to what is the impact of your journey after a decade. It's not about today. It should be more focused on tomorrow. If we invest 1 million, what is the social impact? Yes, definitely you have to make money, but is there a negative impact you are doing to the society, to the ecosystem, to the environment in the upcoming decade? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's come to Ivor.
Thank you very much. I was Saman from Bloomsbury Institute, an AC member, very proud AC member. Some of you have talked about policy. I think, to be absolutely frank, it's a really hard time right now to get airtime with governments to listen for obvious reasons. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, conflict, climate change, etc., etc. My question is simply, do you think that the top 3 things you would like governments to do to support you, whatever they are, would be better addressed to not you having that conversation, but to you working with universities, together working with the other stakeholders in this to get that message across? So what I'm saying is, instead of just having entrepreneurs and governments, maybe working more closely with universities and yourselves, putting those messages across, whatever those key issues are. I don't think that's happening enough, my own perception, whether it's in Bangladesh or parts of Africa, but I'm interested in your perspective.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, I was also going to sync it with what I was going to say to him. I feel to some extent it will always come back to us, and it should start with us. What do you want to see? What do you want to achieve? What's your goal? So at the end of the day, we have to make sure things work out as us, as leaders, as entrepreneurs. So just like you mentioned, it's very important, I think, working out stuff. And they will always come. When you're up there, they see you. And then they want to, collaborate with you because of what you've done on ground. So I feel to some extent, like you've said, to make it even easy, we have to just keep on working so hard to make sure that there are results first. Yes, that's what I think.
Actually.
So first of all, I completely agree with you. in getting through or giving a touch base with the government right now, because we're facing the same thing in our country as well, because the new government just came, right, around like 2.5 months. So it's very, very difficult to get in touch with them in things that we need to do, right? And so a way around can be, and I believe that we can directly communicate with universities, because the other route was through the education ministry, then education ministry contacts the university and so on. So if the universities are open about it, that we from the industry are going to approach them, we have ideas, we have problems, and we believe these are the solutions, not coming from the authority, but from us, right? Not coming from the education ministry, but from us. If they are open-minded in accepting us, then I think this will be a powerful collaboration, even not going through that path. So I think it's on the universities. So if universities open up the doors for the industry, I think it will go very good overall. Thank you.
A couple of questions.
Yes, please.
So we've got a question and two questions from Karen Arslan, who's from the National Centre for Entrepreneurship Education. One of her questions was about whether or not you think that the potential net worth of your business is valued more highly than the social value you create. And the second question from her was similarly, what more could Commonwealth universities, so universities in the Commonwealth, do to help student entrepreneurs grow their business across borders? You mentioned some of the challenges around that, the markets and the regulations. What is there a role for universities to be advocating on behalf of student entrepreneurship?
It's two different questions.
I'll add on the second question. Universities in the Commonwealth, what they can do is that they should make direct connections for the students to the industries where they can, we usually do final year projects and all. So they should do direct linkages with the industry. Students can work on the real world problems directly with the industry partners and help them solve the issues.
I think also to top up on the second question, there's a very big opportunity that is there that in regulatory passporting, this is where 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different countries have the same regulatory approach to business. This will allow Helen to work in different parts of the world, opening her business seamlessly. So I think there's an opportunity there for universities to help engage regulators, given their footprints in different parts of the world, and say, look, we are in Bangladesh, we're in Africa, in Ghana, we're in Botswana, we're in China. And what we've seen is that they're emerging entrepreneurs in recycling. We suggest that you have a united policy for all, so that businesses can operate seamlessly in all those countries. I think there's an opportunity in something like that. Yeah.
Now coming back to the first question, which was actually net worth versus social worth. I think that was basically the question, right? I believe there has to be a balance between these two, because there are companies who are focusing only on their valuations and net worth, and they don't really care about what is the social impact, actually social negative impact because of their company. Right? Everyone talks about, making positive impact to the society and so on and so forth, but many companies are not focusing on that. On the other hand, it's very practical that I have a company that is impacting a lot socially, but it might not be generating enough revenue to actually sustain that in the long term. So there has to be a balance between social impact and the net worth of the company. There has to be a balance. And it is possible. There are a lot of companies who have done both, who have a lot of revenue, and they're also making very, very positive impact in the community. So, yeah, thank you.
I will just add it on question 2. by giving maybe just an example. Like, for example, if I'm from Imperial College and I've gone through an entrepreneurial program, like the one we're having. So I feel they should do the due diligence since if I'm in London, they come to where I work from, and then they should, since they have that whole big network, to have a product of investors within their platform. And then they should create linkages for like between the entrepreneur, because now the funder will be said that, you know, it's someone from Imperial. And then that will make it easy for that entrepreneur to grow. Because I mean, we have innovations, but for us to create an even bigger impact, we need the support, we need the push. And not just, you know, accelerating and all that, but we need the financial support to grow big, to scale to different countries and all that. So if there was a way, it could start from the university. So if you take me through the knowledge and then the skills and then the guidance, if you have the access, it would even make it so easy and better.
Definitely. Thank you. Let's take, we had a couple more in the room. No? Yeah.
Thank you again. My name is Khalid. I'm co-founder with Evan, Saudi Ecosystems. There's a quite interesting challenge that we face all entrepreneurs being thrown. Sustainability, and my friend here said in the current scenario, sustainability will maybe go out of the window as well. I was just listening to the Irish Prime Minister the other day. So this carbon tax would be abandoned for a couple of months, or I don't know, in a few years. So I think this is putting a lot of pressure. So we're scratching our head. So how to make I would say, sustainable business as really sustainable itself as well. And there's a lot of greenwashing in the room. So the things which are we are not asking governments to sort of subsidize, but at least give us a level playing field. That's what the trouble is. And as a consumer, I'll give this example a lot of time. If you go to an airline, if it's a budget air or if it's the normal one, so they have the safety standard the same. So why don't we have the same standard when it comes to sustainability for food and fiber? So I think we're always looking around who's going to pay for this kind of transformation. Another thing I want to mention here, the banks have a huge role to play. So the ESG part, when it comes down to the banks, when they're vetting those projects, looking at the environment credentials. And then we're still a tick box exercise. You get a good consultant, he's good for you. So how to overcome this challenge? And I think it's something maybe not an answer today, but could be a matter of debate. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very interesting debate to be had. Any reflections on that? Otherwise, we'll come if there's any more questions. Yeah, this gentleman here was waiting, and then this one. Yeah.
Actually, it's not a question. Just need to add on that university. So just give a little bit of context in my country. I guess it was all over. So for anyone going into university at first year, and to graduate, you need to have like a research paper. Yeah? So how it works, you need to have like a research instructor, and then you develop a research proposal and a paper. But what I would advise the university is for business class, they should produce a research paper rather than a business plan. So the time that it takes to develop a research proposal maybe could be the instructor instructing a student actually to develop a concept note, like a real concept note with a real life problem, a scalable solution, and then for instead of developing a research paper, this could be like a business plan. Why this is very important because the student now get a time to experience how to learn a business, or at least to connect all the dots. Like this is a problem, and is it like a real problem that I can solve? This is the solution. This is scalable. It is innovative. So for the 3 years that you're in university, when you graduate, I think it would be easy for you to go and do the business instead of like graduating with a research that you're not going to do anything with. So
Thank you. This one here.
Thank you. I just wish to
have your opinion around one particular skill set that every entrepreneur should have, which is art of sales. What are your thoughts around teaching art of sales to students at early stage and matchmaking them with, say, cohort of startups which are associated with universities? But startups struggle with sales, and students do not know what it takes to make it a success. So if you matchmake that and have some assignments around that, would that help?
Yeah. Right. So to that question, very interesting question and very practical. And I would add to that not only the art of sales, I would add leadership skills as well. And this too should be taught not in the university, like Helen mentioned. We should start this from the grassroots, both the leadership skill and the art of selling. And when they're starting from school, building this skill up, then it gets very, very easy for them to, become an entrepreneur very early because they have a long period of practice. And that can be engraved in the curriculum in such a way that it doesn't feel burden to them, right? So I believe that this is a very good thing. And if schools can introduce this, universities should do it. There is no denying that, but I believe it should start from the grassroots. And if this is done, then definitely it should yield a lot of benefits in the long run. Yeah.
Any other reflections? Do we have any other questions online?
We do. We have one more question. Should we take one more?
Yeah, one more in the room and one more online, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, thank you very much. I think to answer the question, essentially, on my own part, would just be for a founder to have this staying power, essentially, register costs, not just selling, to sell. We even have ability to stay costs, right? Because sometimes it usually doesn't work, not because you're not doing the right thing. Sometimes it's just the way the word is, and so you have to stay. But I wanted to speak a lot around what he was trying to say, around like providing like concept notes for students, especially towards the end of the year. I think one other part is very crucial would also be like providing incentives for the students themselves. So it's not just provide concept notes, it's projects, all those things. Look, by the end of the semester, or by the end of the year, we're going to get like 10 students, right? This process has been very good, and we're going to fund you across, say, $5,000 across the next 10 people. What that does essentially, not necessarily competition, right? What that does essentially is like these people to put in the work, and also knowing that, look, I have the backing of my school, right? And I can also take that particular credential, approach the bank, essentially, right? I look very funny, but some banks are very petty, or some other institutions are very like, look, I got my school to fund me. I know very how difficult it is for academia to give funds, so you should fund me, right? So I think it's very, very useful. Thank you.
So final question online.
And a question from online. It's a bit of a tough one, but it's from our ACU member, the University of Women's Best Indies. So this is a question about the regulators. I think someone referred to the regulators kind of watch and see approach, which is predominant in Africa. And Indiana was wondering about the benefits or drawbacks of this approach versus the more risk-averse approach that might typify other contexts and the impact on entrepreneurship and innovation.
Who wants to take this one?
Yeah, the regulation guy.
Yeah.
I think the watch and see approach is quite helpful because it allows innovation to evolve, to thrive, and to do well, so to say, with a caveat. There's a but in there. There are dangers that also us as entrepreneurs, we might dabble into things that haven't been, well, that need to be managed before they are managed. I'll give an example such as AI. We might start using tools that are not, don't have good security, don't have good parameters for customer data, and there are dangers to that. But I think overall, there are benefits to it, but there should be a caveat that when we apply the watch and see process, give it 3 months and already start engaging us, learn how we work, learn about the data we play with, how we protect it, security protocols we've put in, as an example, and then start discussing on parameters set. But they shouldn't just be what is being done currently, where it's just let them operate, go for 4 or 5 years. They haven't made a policy yet on recycling or fiber or education or whatever. Just have a deadline, 6 months, catch up with us. Let us go, but catch up with us eventually. Yeah.
Very keen hand in the room. So we've got just over 5 minutes, so keep it very brief.
Yeah, so just one point. So maybe I don't know about this, but I'm the only company that operates out of a university back in Pakistan. So it's a science and technology park within us. And I think that was the best move we made because one, universities usually have subsidies from the government. So, the real estate is a lot cheaper and they get a lot of benefits from solar energy production and all of the science and technology things that they do over there. Second, from a talent point of view, I don't know how it works over here, but part-time talent and out-box thinking that you get from young kids, that's actual game changer because Gen Zs and the new people actually think very different. Last, I think everybody loves to talk about funding or how government can make it easier, regulation related challenges, but I think startups are usually younger and weaker to actually be able to change a lot without the help of maybe university. But I just want to ask one question, and I think we should talk more about it. How has it been for you guys? Because I know it's really tough as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, and how do you tackle that on a personal level?
So very quick reflections on a personal level. How are you all?
Right. So thank you for the question. So on a personal level, entrepreneurship comes with a lot of perks as well as a lot of stress as well. That's part of the job. And as entrepreneurs, we need to balance both, right? Our personal life, our entrepreneurial life, and so on and so forth. So to me personally, if I say that I believe that if I have a goal that I need to do and I need to achieve, so whatever stress, hurdles, whatever it comes and life throws at me, I know my final target. And so when I know my purpose and know my final target, so nothing else matters. Yeah.
For me, entrepreneurship, how I would define it as me, it has been, I don't know the term to use, but like sweet pain. It's like you have to do so many stuff as you, but then there are so many good things you're getting out of it as well. So what I've gotten to learn is that you just go through it even when it gets so hard. So I mean, from the funding bit of it, you go through those hard due diligences, even when you have something, but then the fund that wants to see something, and then those high charges, those high rates, and then the fact that you're not having a certain revenue that they want to determine for them to give you the money, and then yet you have to go there. So I mean, it has been there is no great word that can describe it, but anyways, we are here and we are the ones to change the world. So yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do. Yeah.
Lovely. Any other?
I'll add on that. So being burnt out every time being a part of this journey of entrepreneurship, I think it's the best part and the worst part at the same time. And again, I'll add on what Helen said, that the idea of changing the world one step at a time, I think it's the best feeling in the world.
Amazing. What a wonderful note to finish on. Can I? Fantastic. That is a wonderful note to finish on, and thank you for that question. So it just leaves me to say thank you to our panelists for sharing your insights and reflections. We all look forward to seeing where your journey takes you and to the successes that you have. What we've heard today has been incredibly valuable, not just as insight, but thank you particularly for giving us a sense of practical direction, application that we as the ACU can work with our members to put into action. Understanding where universities are adding value, and I think that was a nice reflection at the end of the importance of locating founders within institutions and the support you get. But we heard also more what can be done, particularly so that we can see more founders come through, particularly more young founders and women, and look at those barriers, and what universities can do to support them with their big, bold, audacious goals, as you described them. We heard a bit about the need for universities to open doors and connect to industry, to bridge the skills gaps, to support with applied knowledge and research. And I think for us as the ACU and our advocacy with governments to look with working with trade ministers and networks such as the Commonwealth Investment Network and Commonwealth Enterprise Investment Network to advocate for a better ecosystem. And in the work that we do to share knowledge and best practice and resources. And that leads me just to finish with a short introduction to a new initiative that I mentioned earlier that we are hoping to launch, where we seek to develop a community of practice on entrepreneurship and enterprise education, really convening the diverse experiences of our network of 400 universities to share knowledge and exchange best practice in this field, and to connect more directly with founders within and outside our institutions. So to do this, I'm going to hand over to Arif, who's here representing, as he said, the Bloomsbury Institute, an ACU member, but also the Commonwealth Business Women's Network, a key partner of ours. Just very briefly before we finish, tell us a little bit more about this initiative. Yeah.
Well, where we sit, are we here? The head of the Commonwealth is doing his bit for global peace, but the future's here in this room. Connection in a fragmented world, trust in an uncertain system, a platform for practical cooperation that's built on shared values, shared system, and deep human ties. Those are not my words. Those are words spoken exactly a week ago today by a woman from Africa, but not any woman from Africa. The first woman in the history of the Commonwealth to be Secretary General. And what she was describing was that rather elusive idea that has been talked about for many, many years, but I thought she grounded very much in the current context, which is referred to as the Commonwealth Advantage. Not just the fact that there's a 21% reduced cost of doing business between any two Commonwealth countries because of the shared legal infrastructure, the commercial relationships, etc., the networks, but also, as she rightly said, the level of trust and collaboration, and indeed the appetite that we heard for that. We heard the appetite for that very clearly last week, where I was with the ACU at the Commonwealth Trade Investment Summit held here in London at the Mansion House. So I just wanted to reinforce the point that I think what we've heard from the panel is a very strong message that really echoes what I remember hearing very clearly with colleagues here from the ACU in Nairobi. I think we take our hats off to Kenya. You've broken the record on 72 hours ago of breaking the marathon in a Commonwealth city here in London. But we heard in Nairobi at the ACU Congress last November the importance that universities are now beginning to attach in a more coherent and cohesive way to entrepreneurship. But there's more work to be done in that area. Just weeks after we met in Nairobi, the Commonwealth Secretariat announced a revised version of its curriculum framework for education and the sustainable development, which actually goes through from early childhood, primary, tertiary, lifelong learning. Every one of the SDGs broken down in terms of the behavioral outcomes that are required. That is a breakthrough piece of work. And I did the analysis of how much of a focus there was on entrepreneurship the last time they did that report in 2016, 4 mentions. This time it's a lot more than 4 mentions. So there's a growing appetite. So the universities absolutely are beginning now to step up to the plate much more. But as you've highlighted in the conversation this afternoon, it's not about the universities on their own. It's clearly around governments. And I think a point very well made was the importance of collaboration. If you go back to the head of the Commonwealth, the King's Commonwealth Day message this year, just in fact last month, there was a very strong emphasis on not just collaboration, but the importance of collaboration right now. That's an important distinction, right now. And I think even in the remarks that were made yesterday in the US Congress, you could see there were points towards the importance of collaboration. So I think governments and universities working together absolutely can take some of these messages forward around entrepreneurship and how it can need to be embedded more. But I think, as we also heard from the panel, that would be a complete waste of time without the central voice of entrepreneurs. It's got to be grounded in your lived experience. You are much closer to what's happening in terms of how things are shifting, and that's why it's so important. So I just wanted to emphasize the fact that it's a bit like London buses. You know, you wait for a long time and then you see not one, but several in a row. So we've got now the third cohort, the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship program. You're a great, all of you are incredibly powerful ambassadors of that. I mean, I think this comes across every time in all of your own ways. We've also have the King's Commonwealth Fellowship program. That's also running in tandem, but we also have the Commonwealth Investment Network. I'm so delighted, Philippa, you're here today as part of that. And we only saw, was it just last month, Philippa, when they were in London, despite mayhem breaking open across the world, they got here from Vanuatu and from all over the world because of that resilience and wanting to come together. So all of these entrepreneur networks are important because what can universities do from that? We can learn from that. And not learn 3 years ago, but this is real-time learning because this is happening right now. So the community of practice for entrepreneurship education is designed to do exactly that, to ensure that there is a much better understanding in higher education, not about entrepreneurship as it is, entrepreneurship and how to change it, and how it needs to change, to be more inclusive, to be more investable, and to become indeed more international. So that is a part of the community of practice, bringing together stakeholders and doing so in very specific ways, not just to identify priority themes or identifying those case studies. You know, it's not just about us, let's remember. It's about that 14-year-old girl. I have a daughter of 14 years, but she represents the Commonwealth because most of our Commonwealth is under 30. So that generation that, if you like, are behind you in schools, how do we provide pathways so they can see the way forward? Your story is a part of that pathway. But we want to find a way to better get that across to Commonwealth universities and others. And I think also this idea of providing guidance for universities and others in entrepreneurship education, all part of that, and future engagement. So I'll just close by saying, you know, working with the Global Entrepreneurship Network, the Commonwealth Investment Network, Commonwealth accredited organizations, the Commonwealth Business Women's Network and others, the timing is absolutely right. And never forget, it's my favorite quote, one or two of you may have heard it before, it's the Victor Hugo quote. It's not a bad one to remember. Nothing is as powerful as an idea, but nothing is even more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. There's more tea and coffee, I think, at the back, so please do help yourselves. And a huge thank you to those of you that have joined us online, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you to our panelists again.